Hi, and welcome to Morning Coffee with the Passionate Homeschooler. I'm Deanna, and today I want to talk to you about an article that I read in Smithsonian Magazine about some Lincoln documents that have been digitized and transcribed and are available free online for everybody. And so this project of digitizing and transcribing all of Lincoln's correspondence, and we're talking about 40,000 documents, particularly letters to family and friends, as well as official correspondence relating to issues of the Civil War and his presidency. And this started in 1999 and 2002 at the Center for Lincoln Studies in Illinois, and they started digitizing and transcribing these documents. But in 2018, the librarian from the Library of Congress sent out a call for a crowdsourcing project to transcribe a lot more of these documents that still had yet to be finished. And this project is just now completed after 2 years. So what is absolutely fascinating is that you can go into the Library of Congress and you can see scans of the letters and transcriptions. One thing to note is that these letters are transcribed in a lot of cases by volunteers, and there can be little typos and spelling errors, and each letter would be transcribed, and then they would have another person look over and review it, but things still slip through the cracks. So by having that digitized document, not only can you see the penmanship and the writing itself, you can also, if you're not sure if something may be wrong in the letter of the transcription, you can look back to the document and see if you can figure that out, which is great. But what is even more important is that we have access to thousands of primary source documents written by Abraham Lincoln and written to Abraham Lincoln. So why is that important? Why do we care about primary sources? Well, as a historian, they are basically the bread and butter of everything that we do. And as a historian, when we look at primary sources and we see the actual writings and the actual documents, we can look at the intent and what was said without seeing any sort of interpretation or any particular lens. For instance, if you have a military historian and they're looking at these Civil War documents, they may add their own commentary when they write a history or when they are discussing them or interpreting them. If you have a feminist historian, they may look at things through a little different lens and interpret things a little differently than maybe what the initial intent was. And so by having these primary source documents, we get to see what was actually written without anybody's viewpoint of the modern world. And that is just so remarkable. Now, when you're teaching literature, bringing in primary sources is a very interesting way of teaching it. But even more than just interesting, it is an engaging way of teaching it. So let's take these Lincoln documents. How can you teach these, and how can you make them tell a little more of a story or a narrative without interpretation or reading a secondary source or a history book written by somebody in the modern world? Well, you can go back and you can teach some literature written from that time period, whether it's Harriet Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Stephen Crane's Red Badge of Courage. Those are wonderful stories talking about this era. Now you can pull in these documents that we have access to now, and that really makes those stories come alive because now you're telling the actual history, and your kids can read what was actually going on, and then they can read the literature, and it is just a very robust and enriching way of teaching both history and literature. So that's something that we do at the Pisan Academy, is that every literary work that we create curriculum for, we also include primary sources. And what you can do with your children in a reading program is find some literature, and with these Abraham Lincoln documents, you can find literature from that time period and then have them read some of these documents that pertain to what the story is talking about. Now, we're going to put a link to the Library of Congress page where you can find this wonderful resource that is just now available with all of these documents. If you like this approach of teaching historical documents with literature, then like this video so other people can find it. You can also subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. We'll put links to our other social media in the description below. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.